Can you hear me?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this exciting session on meaningful engagement in refugee youth education and the Global Youth Summit at large. Some of you are joining us through the Juno platform, and many are joining through the live broadcast and multiple social media channels. A warm welcome to all of you. Before we kick off, I'll just give you some bit of housekeeping. I'm called Simon Marotolong, and I'll be your moderator for this session tonight, which is on the meaningful engagement of refugee youth. So some of this housekeeping are for us to actually make this summit enjoyable and memorable for all of us, all the young people that are joining, and all the people that are joining from every part of the world. So the first one is that you please know that this session is just part of the Global Youth Summit, and we strongly encourage you to explore other sessions in any of the 3 tracks each day of the summit. You know, we started yesterday on Friday. Today is the second day, which is Saturday, and tomorrow we shall also have other session. So please check on any other session and in all the 3 tracks. So by joining this session, everyone who will have the opportunity to speak consent to their image and the audio being broadcast. And the third housekeeping rule is that by participating in the Global Youth Summit, you have agreed to professionally, respectfully, and culturally be sensitive towards other people. This is to promote the principle of respect, diversity, and inclusion, as well as to actively participate or prevent and not engage in abusive behaviors. Of any kind, and that leads to harm, prejudice, discrimination, or harassment against any person. We want this to be an inclusive space. We want it to be a diverse space. So you should be respectful. You should actually be respectful towards each other and actually act professionally and culturally sensitive, because we're joining from across the world, and everyone is joining us from different parts of the world. They have different cultures. They have different ways of looking at things. So we should actually be respectful towards each other. If you do not adhere to this principle of the summit's code of conduct, I'm very sorry we'll actually remove you from the session and potentially ban you from an entire event. If you want to join, if you have plans of joining maybe other sessions later on or tomorrow, we'll actually ban you. And the organization that nominated you will actually be notified of your actions. We have a safeguarding team that is moderating our interaction on Juno platform, the live broadcast, chat function, and all social media channels. Should you at any point feel unsafe or witness concerning behaviors from either your colleague, someone that you are joining with, or someone that you see just on the platform, please reach out to us by sending an email to safe@globalyouthmobilization.org. I repeat again, should you have at any point feels unsafe or witness any concerning behaviors, please reach out by sending an email to safe@globalyouthmobilization.org. You may also get in touch with our support team at the virtual help desk. All information or the emails to the address above will be kept private and confidential. Whatever you send, be open and it will be kept confidential. My support team will actually drop the housekeeping rules and the code of conduct in the chat box so that you can actually acquaint yourself with it and read through. So tonight I'm going to be joined by 5 amazing young people who are joining from different parts of the world. And I'm so happy to actually be moderating. I'm so honored to be moderating this session, which is on meaningful engagement on refugee youth education. You know, it has been like talk of the town. Everywhere people are talking about refugees, but we don't have an opportunity to actually hear from them. We don't have an opportunity to actually hear from the people who have actually experienced forced displacement, who have had to run away from their countries of origin and be in countries that they feel safe and comfortable in. So I will have 5 young people joining us today for this session, and I'm going to be introducing each and every one as we continue going on with the session. So the topic tonight is very important. And why is it important? Why is the topic important? You know, refugee education is something which is not given a focus. If I tell you right now the statistic, it will actually be alarming. In the world today, young people that have joy, that have an opportunity to actually go to school, only youth. These have access to 3% of refugee youth. This is out of over 70 million people who are displaced, over 25 million who are refugees. Only 3% have a chance of going to higher education. This is compared to the 37% of non-refugee youth. So this session is going to expand and create awareness on meaningful engagement. How can you engage with refugees? How can youth actually themselves engage so that they can make conditions better for youth who are refugees, those who are displaced from their countries of origin? How can actually we work together and improve access to secondary and expand higher opportunities for refugees? And our goal is by 2030, we want actually to move from 3% to actually 15%. So 15%, 15 by 2030, that's the high tag that we're going to actually be using tonight. And I'll come back later on to the 15 by 30%. So without wasting much time, I would like to introduce the first discussion. The first speaker of tonight, who's none other than Halal Haj. Halal is a high-achieving full scholarship journalism student in Mohammed bin Rashid School of Communication in the American University in Dubai, studying communication and information studies. Through her studies in media, she guided her writing, filming, and editing skills. So Halal, I would like to welcome you. Can you please tell us about the experience you had transitioning from secondary school to tertiary education? Thank you.
Sure. Hi, Simon. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak about my experience. So my story began in 2012 when we had to flee our home back in Syria to get internally displaced twice until I came to UAE in 2015. Just like any other person with aspirations, I wanted to continue my higher education despite all the circumstances I was in, because this was my plan in Syria to start with. However, what changed is that my higher education wasn't granted for free anymore, like how it was in my country. I was suddenly a refugee. Being a refugee changed everything since we had to start from zero suddenly in a completely different country without having anything in hand or the choice to return to our home. That's why our financial situation did not allow my parents to afford my higher education. So I knew that the only thing that would give me a possibility of getting a full scholarship is by working and studying hard for it. So I managed to get 98% in high school, but I still couldn't easily find any full scholarships. The maximum scholarships I could get are 50 to 75%, which I couldn't afford. Running from university to another and starting to give up, I felt so down and how it wasn't fair. I still remember being broken inside and tearing on one of the university's gates, thinking about what was the point of me working hard and suffering just to not get a chance even. I worked hard for only a student with money and better circumstances to get my university chair. And for me to be forced to the option of going back to Syria in a time when university were getting bombed and the situation was so bad. However, I was very lucky eventually to get a full scholarship to study Bachelor in Media and Journalism in the American University in Dubai. And thanks for the UNHCR, I was offered a financial grant for dorms, which otherwise I wouldn't be able to afford. This was the point that really changed my life and changed me as a person.
Wow, Halal, this is really touching. I think the house can actually now get a bit of what it is like to live outside your country of origin, where you were actually born. The challenges are so much. Challenges are really so much. Thank you, Alal, for trusting us with these stories. So, how has education helped you achieve your potential? After getting that opportunity, how has it helped you to actually achieve your potential?
Honestly, Simon, I can't imagine where would I be without this opportunity, or if I would be able to speak to all of you right now to start with and build all these beautiful friendships and connections. I grew now as with many skills such as creative writing, filming, communication, video editing, researching, and many more. And now I am graduating in a week to start my career as a journalist with a GPA of 3.88. This is what I believe is the most important thing that higher education offers for a refugee. Aside from the too many skills, it is the clearance of the refugee stamp. Most of my friends in my university wouldn't even guess that I am a refugee, and many were even shocked when they knew. In a university's campus, you are equal to any other student. All the ethnic and background titles get dropped and replaced with the title of a student. This can't be offered in schools sometimes, since the schools that are built in refugee camps, for example, in some areas in the world, make the students only interact with the students in their camp and community, and they would still not be merged in the hosting society. This merge would only happen in the university level, where you start getting out of your community box and get to know more citizens in a diverse environment.
Congratulations are in order as you're going to graduate soon. We hope to
Thank
celebrate
you.
with you online, and we actually hope to wish also that you get other opportunities to follow your education or use it to change the life of other people that are around you right now. So, what is the one
Thank you
thing
so
that you would like young people to know about refugee youth?
Look,
Well,
Simon, we should know that I was only able to get such scholarship opportunity due to my academic achievement and to the fact that I wanted, by luck, to study media. Such scholarships weren't offered in other fields. But what about refugee students that had to go through a way tougher and unfortunate situation than the one I was in and could achieve the minimum percentage of entering university, but they can't enter it only due to financial or documentation difficulties? I know a friend who is a refugee in Cyprus who still, till today, after 6 years, couldn't continue his third year higher education that he held in Syria due to the documentation problem. I believe that higher education opportunities should be offered to refugees specifically, regardless of their academic achievements or documentation, because they aren't living in a normally human situation that would usually allow them to achieve such higher grades. Regardless, they could have the potential to strive just like any other normal university student in the same level when offered a proper education. Refugee youth are motivated individuals and maybe more motivated than any other youth, in my opinion, because of the struggles they have been through. Through my encounter with other refugees and my experience, we try our best to get out of the tough situation we are in and usually get out of camps specifically. We get tired of it just like any other human, especially that this is the life that we weren't living before the war. So we seek to change. However, we really need a hand like the hand that was offered to me to prove ourselves to the world. In the end, only political borders are what made us titled as refugees, not our humanity, productivity, will, or potential to be productive in the land we are standing on. Many countries, such as Germany, Sweden, and many others, which realized that they could invest in refugees and merge them as reborn citizens, just like any other immigrant, and find their potential instead of keeping them as a burden. My experience and others' experience as tertiary refugee students is a reminder that we are complex humans and students with the potential to strive before being labeled refugees.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much, Halal. Thank you,
Thank
Halal,
you so much.
for this amazing story. It's really inspiring. And
Thank you so
I hope like the people who have joined us can actually get it from her that if we are given the opportunity, if we are in the university there, you will not see our colors. You will not see anything written refugees. You will not see anything written a displaced person or a Syrian or a Jamaican or a Cameroonian. No, we are the same blood, same human, and once we are given the opportunity, we can actually excel. Thank you, Alal, and congratulations once more. We
Thank you
hope
so
this,
much for you, Simon.
and thank you for giving us like the practical things like documentation. Is it something really very hard? Things like equal access to education. Can we give this access to education to every child who is in that land or in a given boundary, in a given location? Can we give them all equal access to education? Thank you, Alan. I will go to the second speaker, Didier Abimana. So before passing to him, we'll have to show a video of him because Didier is a member of the World Scout movement, and he has a very short video to actually be a story of himself engaging in the Scout and how it has changed him. So Arash.
My name is Didier Abimana, a refugee from Rwanda residing in Nairobi, Kenya. I've been a Scout for more than 20 years now, and growing up as a refugee in a foreign country, some of the biggest challenges I faced were identity crisis and exclusion. But joining the Scout movement, it played a key role in my development as a young person. It equipped me with essential life skills such as first aid, knowing how to live with other people, and it also built my character and developed my leadership abilities. It also instilled in me the spirit of togetherness and the spirit of volunteering and contributing towards the development of my community. I urge all Scouts, wherever they are, to try as much as they can to engage themselves with refugees by creating an inclusive environment where refugees can feel like they also belong, and also by creating a platform where youth refugees can also engage themselves in positive activities relevant to their growth and towards the development of their communities.
Thank you, everyone. So Didier Abimana is a refugee residing in Kenya, as you have all heard from the video. Didier is a professional photographer. He's the chairman of the youth-led organization called Cultural Group that is based in Nairobi. So his name is Idagimiroa Dance Group. We'll come and pronounce for us because this is like two. Lydia will come and actually help us with the pronunciation. So, whose mission is to promote the spirit of togetherness and harmony. So, through traditional entertainment and peace building among youth in various communities. That is in Nairobi. So, he left his country and now he's a peace builder. He's a peace champion in where he's staying. So, he's also the secretary of Elephant Vigilante Scout Troop based in Nairobi, Kenya. Lydia, thank you so much. I'd like to welcome you with the first question. So, how did you start your engagement with the Scout movement?
Thank you, Simon. I joined the Scout movement many years ago when I was 8 years old. I was in grade 2 back then. And at the time, I used to be a very shy kid, quiet, but very loud at home because that's where I was more comfortable. And growing up as a refugee in a foreign country, some of the biggest challenges I faced were identity crisis, exclusion, And it was not easy making friends outside my refugee community. So one day at school, one of my cousins took me to this scouts group that we had in school. And for once, I got into a group whereby it had so many people from different backgrounds. And I liked how diverse the group was, how vibrant and how happy everyone was. So the group had people from different backgrounds, but all identified as one. It gave me a sense of hope.
Have anyone joined the meeting?
It gave me
Didi
a sense of
and Hala. Have anyone of you joined the meeting?
Yes, it gave me a sense of hope, a sense of belonging. It fills a gap that school or family couldn't fill. And the Scout movement built my character, self-confidence, ethics, personal fitness, and developed my leadership abilities. It taught me how to be self-reliant through different through participating in different outdoor activities such as camping, hiking, community service, which also taught me how to live with other people and respect everyone despite where they come from or our cultural differences. It's instilled in me the spirit of togetherness and the spirit of volunteering towards the development of my community. And lastly, and more importantly, scouting challenged my critical thinking. It boosted my self-esteem and personal responsibility. As a result, when hard decision had to be made, especially when I was a teenager, I could resist peer pressure and make the right choices for myself. And that has actually influenced the adult life that I'm living currently.
Thank you, Didier. So from finding it hard to actually get people to associate with or to actually have that sense of belonging to a group, now you are
Yes.
someone who is a critical thinker, who is able to make decisions. That is the power of the Scout movement, and that is the power of meaningful youth engagement in a platform like the Scout movement. So thank you for trusting us with this and for being there for everyone, representing the refugee community that are displaced. So can you tell us some of the barriers that are facing refugee youth and children engaging in some of the platforms like the Scout movement where you're in right now?
Some of the barriers that refugee youth are or having in engaging in different activities. Some of them are firstly language barrier, because these are people who come from different countries to where they go to seek asylum. So there's the language barrier aspects, there's the cultural differences, not being well connected to the community or having enough information about these different platforms. And also another challenge is also not having not having the basic rights or basic things that they should have, like maybe probably like proper clothing, good education, and things like that. And some also some youths feel isolated because of what they probably faced in their country that they fled, and some of these things might be like domestic violence, gender-based violence, or coming from a community which was discriminated or marginalized in their own in their respective countries. And some are also limited by this refugee status, not having proper documentation to join these initiatives, because some initiatives require you to have proper documentation. And when you don't have proper papers, sometimes it's a barrier. And yeah, and sadly, this most of the times it leaves most refugees with potential not having the chance to like fully exhaust their potential or their talents.
So issues like language barrier, how people communicate, because some of these engagement are physical, these are constant contact in the Scout movement. So you need to communicate all the time. You need to speak to your group. You need to speak to the team that you are leading or you're engaging with. And also, like, documentation is coming back again. That for refugee youth to actually engage, they need to have the proper papers so that they are admitted into a group, so that they can actually move outside the country where they are residing in, and even engage like in places which are outside. So thank you. So, but what are some of the ways that audience can support refugee youth inclusion in some of these platforms? Like, how do you see people engaging or supporting refugee youth to actually be part of these platforms or groups like the Scout movement?
It doesn't have to be much. It can be just by creating a welcoming, inclusive environment where refugees can also feel like they belong, heard and appreciated. By creating platforms where refugees can express themselves, where they can be consulted, listened to, and engaged in coming up with solutions that affect their lives. And also by creating more education opportunities, employment opportunities, and by empowering them to be constructive through involving them in positive activities that help them heal or grow intellectually, physically, socially, and encourage them to, like, all this will will encourage them to participate in the development of their communities. And also by creating platforms whereby, they can even maybe host community can have chats with refugees, get to know them, get to know what is disturbing them. And yeah, by reaching out to refugees in the neighborhoods, volunteering their time, becoming friends with them, and sharing other opportunities that are out there with them. Thank you. Over to you, Simon.
Okay, thank you, Didier. So before we go to the next three speakers for our session, I would like to actually take questions at this point. We're going to be taking questions for Didier and Alal. Hala and Didier are here. So there is the chat space that is for Q&A. If you have a question that is directed to either one person, it can be directed to Didier or Hala. No worries at all. So the first question is, how do we engage refugees without papers? What are the restrictions placed on refugees without papers? So that is the first question from the Q&A. Ala and Didier, anyone can, Ala, do you want to answer that question? How do we engage people without papers in maybe accessing education?
Honestly, the only way is by like trying to communicate with the governments of the hosting countries to find a solution for the paper issues, because sometimes some refugees are not able to get even like a passport or traveling documents or any kind of identification. So this should be worked on with like specific authorities that are responsible for such issues. Other than that, I don't know. For me, I believe that it's really a problem that can't be solved but by the governments themselves. I don't know if did you have any other
For me,
opinion?
when we talk about, okay, I don't know which type of engagement exactly you're asking, but when it comes to, let's say, education, as Hala was saying, for me, I feel like education should be a basic right to everyone, regardless of the papers he holds. And in terms of engagement in other activities, the reason why I joined the Scout movement is because it's a movement that doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter which color, which country you come from, or even which papers you hold. You just become a member just like that. And I feel also in certain groups, there should be such groups. And I think we should also put the focus on their abilities more than the papers, because the papers part, it's not up to the refugee to give themselves a paper. It's not determined by a refugee, him or herself. So I feel like we should focus more on what can this refugee offer. We should focus more on the abilities that this refugee have instead of the papers.
Okay, for instance, if someone want to open a bank account, you have a brother, you have a sister or a relative who is in the US or in Canada or in Australia, and you don't have a paper. You are maybe in a country like Nairobi, Kenya, or you are in Kenya, but you don't have a paper. Then they have to only transfer that money through a bank account. How can someone help you without papers? So do we go to the people in charge of refugees, like from the government, and advocate for them to actually give you some temporary papers for you to maybe access services? Because when you don't have services, schools cannot admit you. They will not identify you. They will not know where you are from. They will not know your criminal background. So how do we help in such cases? Do we go and talk to the people so that they give temporary papers before some of these documents can actually be gone?
What I've seen happening here is people approach other people who have documents. Personally, I've received money on behalf of other people. So I guess that's the part of how others can help other refugees. Because there's the part whereby even us as refugees, we have also that responsibility of looking after other refugees as well. If you're a refugee with papers and you know that there's someone without papers and you can assist them in any way, at least do the least that you can do by, either receiving that money on his behalf, just giving them that access. And in terms of banks, I believe each bank has its own policies and its own criteria of giving out someone opening a bank account. I think that's a discussion more on the government to try and make it easier for banks, like to work on those criteria that they consider for someone to open a bank account. They need to find a way whereby refugees can also, because I believe like a bank account should be like a basic right also to everyone, because everyone has to have access to money and to an account whereby in case you work, whereby your salary can be placed and all that. Thank you.
Can I add something?
Yeah, sure, Hala.
As what Didier said, we should also, as refugees, look after each other. For example, there are some networks and organizations, such as the one I'm in, Tertiary Refugee Student Network, TRSN. We try to advocate for refugees also on a local level, try to talk to the governments, like suggested plans, and in many countries. So I think even like this is the responsibility of some non-profit organizations and networks to also try and speak out on behalf of refugees and try to find solutions with governments, because issue like documentation, it needs the government's hand in handling it.
Okay, I'll go to the second question. Have you, as refugees, after migrating to other countries, for instance, Didier is now in Kenya, Allah is in Dubai. Like after that, migrating to these countries, do you direct any of your activism or efforts in charge of changing something on the country that you came from? Like your country of origin is maybe Somalia. Do you guys put more effort back in Somalia to change the ways the things are done in Somalia? Do we put effort in Congo? Do we put effort in Malawi, in Angola? Do we put efforts in Ecuador or in Venezuela to actually see things changing there?
For me, for example, like just 2 weeks ago, I went to Syria in order to shoot a documentary about the economic situation that is happening there, especially that no media is talking much about Syria anymore. So I always try to use my skills that I gained through my education in order to try and, like, I always have Syria in my mind and my heart. Like whatever I'm learning, I'm trying to actually go back and apply them like there, in order to just maybe from my specialty, since I'm a media student and journalism student, I always try to highlight issues in Syria, for example. And I'm always try to make some documentaries there, some articles that talk about the situation there, and try to show a gray image, not a black and white, an image that everyone is participating in, and it's not biased or based on a propaganda like how it used to be in the media.
Okay, thank you, Ala. Did
Can
you
I
maybe
add something?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, personally, I haven't gone back because I'm still a refugee here in Nairobi where I am, because of different reasons. And but what I've done here, as you have heard in the when they were introducing me, there's a group I lead, a cultural traditional dance group. You were saying that I should tell you how to pronounce the name. The name is Indangamirwa, and it's a Rwandese name, which means like those people to stare at. That thing, when you look at it, you don't want to take your eyes off it. And this is a Rwandan cultural group. It's Rwanda and Burundi, and it's a platform where we've created. It's a platform that we created for, because we have refugees from our country born here in refuge countries, and they don't know anything about their culture, where they come from, or just anything about the country that they come from. So this platform is whereby we get to learn something about our culture. We get to just even the language itself, knowing 2 or 3 things about our tradition. So for me, what I've done is to try and export my culture in a foreign language, and we've been performing in different places here in Nairobi, and people actually like us. You get to see people now being interested in your culture, and some even end up going visiting there, as tourists, because there are certain things that you got to tell them which are positive, that brought that curiosity to them, to go and explore more. So I've focused mostly on the positive sides of where I come from. That's what I portray out there, because I'm still proud to be Rwandese. I'm still proud, of where I come from, and wherever I go, I still say positive things about my country and about where I come from. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all the efforts that you're doing to also change what is happening back home. I think that's where we also need to focus, because for us to have a sustainable solution to this, the problem that chased us out of our country, that made us leave, we need to also put some energy there. So I have one last question, and it's going to Ala. Ala, what will you recommend to young refugees who don't feel the energy to get ahead? For instance, someone maybe got an opportunity to be sponsored. There is a call right now. There is a call for refugee youth to apply for the World Universities of Service of Canada scholarship opportunity in Canada. So, but there are some people who don't have the energy to move ahead to actually change the situation. So, what will you recommend for young refugees like that? Ala?
I would just say that it is just a phase and it will pass. I think that in many situations I was in, I felt sometimes that it's too much pressure. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm very stressed. But I always used to push myself ahead. I always think about what would happen a month later. Maybe I will bear this suffer for 3 days, 4 days, a month. But what would happen after? I'm always a daydreamer. I always daydream of what would happen after this period where I'm working hard for. So whenever I see this image of what would happen, I always get motivated and just push myself ahead, because it's worth it. And trust me, after this period where where I'm standing right now, the person I am right now, when I look back to all what I've gone through, I really, really feel like it was really worth it. And just move on. I know many people who even couldn't get access to higher education, and yet they went to other choices. They try to build their connection in their hosting countries. They try opening their businesses by these connections. They played smart with it. Like sometimes it's not only like higher education is the answer, or like education is the answer. Sometimes like you can also do stuff, alternative stuff, to push yourself forward, but just don't give up. I don't, this is the only advice I would give.
Thank you, Ala. The comments are actually interesting from the chat. Let's continue engaging on the platform. Let's continue bringing the suggestion coming in. I can see two from Fernanda here. One of them is like during the pandemic, he saw like in social media a lot of refugees doing delivery, like food delivery, and he's suggesting that people should actually prioritize buying food from these local refugees rather than buying from big companies. And maybe those who are engaged in making like livelihood out of liquid soap, sanitizers, we can actually prioritize actually buying from them. That way we can actually be able to actually support them. So thank you. Let's keep the chats coming in. Let's continue. Let's keep this session lively. Let's continue engaging. So I'll go to the next speaker. Our next speaker is Laura Valencia. Laura was born in Colombia and fled to Ecuador with her family in 2007. That was a long time ago. You can see how protracted like our conflicts are. So Laura passionately believes that refugees should have a voice in all matters that affect them. She feels that the refugee youth should be a source of information and inspiration on identifying sustainable solutions to the challenges that refugees face, either I think in their countries of origin or even the country where they're actually staying in. She works as the communication coordinator of the recent initiative led by the young refugees themselves, that is Global Refugee Youth Network, where they seek to take advantage of learning and experiences of refugees, youth leaders to empower young refugees to empower themselves. So they want to empower young refugees to also empower themselves. So you are empowered to empower others. You are empowered to actually create that multiply effect. So they also like want to empower refugees to actually respond to needs of their communities and advocate for change that they consider important. Because like the refugees themselves, they see things from a different perspective. They have a different experiences. So they are looking at empowering them to see that they can actually do the change that they want to see in their communities or the needs that they are happening in their communities. Laura, you're welcome. My question is, how can young people create an inclusive environment, especially when it comes to language barriers? I think that was something that was mentioned before. So how can we actually create an inclusive environment when there are issues like language barrier?
Thank you, Simon. I hope you can listen me well. But my answer for this question is empathy. Since it is the intention to understand what a person feels and experiences. When you have lived the same situation, it is easier to understand it. And we must recognize that not everyone lives the same circumstances. But even if you have not experienced it, that quality will allow you to feel what is to deal with the language barrier to explain even everyday things. If young people are more empathetic, we can make the new ones feel safe and understood, even if we don't understand a single word of what they say. Besides, now we have help of many technological tools that allow us to do simultaneous translation, and we can use them to understand what they want to express or explain something to them. I also believe that including and engaging people from different cultures and languages in activities, meetings, etc., it's really important. That we are carrying out is very important since they will feel included in their new environment. Offering our help as support so that we can participate in different activities. And things as simple as learning a few phrases in their language can be very useful to create an inclusive and safe environment.
Oh, thank you, Laura. That is something which is really practical. A phrase like "How are you?" in the language of the refugees or the displaced person, I think can go a long way in solving a lot of problems or in making someone feel welcome or even feeling home. Because when someone is able to greet you in your own language, you feel part of the community. You feel that they know about your community. So this is really very practical, and thank you for giving us that. So, but what are the ways that youth can use social media to tackle different narratives around refugees? I know you are a communication coordinator for the Global Refugee Youth Network. So how do you see social media as a tool to tackle different narratives around refugees? Saying they are threats, they are burden, they are coming to take our resources, they are coming to take our employment opportunities. So how do you think YouTube, how do you think Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, name it, all these social media tools can be used to change this narrative on refugees?
Thank you, Simon. First of all, I have to say I love social media, and that's something that I work really hard on the Global Refugee Youth Network. And we have to understand that social media become a very powerful weapon as long as they are used well. We must be aware of their constant growth and the important role that they are currently playing as information media. Although their main objective was initially to entertain us, many of us, and I include myself, we look for all kinds of information on networks. Despite the fact that refugee issues has been very popular, there's a great deal of misinformation, not only in the general population, but even in the refugees themselves. So effectively addressing the different refugee narratives can be very helpful to refugees who, like many of us, seek information through them. From my personal point of view, all the content that inspire by telling real stories from different perspectives of refugee women and men and young people show a much more objective perspective of refuge and refugees. They can also be an excellent platform to share opportunities that they can access and that they will not know otherwise. We are in the era where social media move everything, and everyone is within our reach through them. So it is up to us how young people will tell those different realities to the world, and how we can express how we live all over the world. And I want to give an example of how powerful they can be. I'm a professional makeup artist, and a few months ago, I found out about an opportunity of 30 scholarships throughout the country from beauty school. I found out more about this, and I found that people with refugee status and asylum seekers could also apply. And upon learning of this, together with a refugee friend here in the country, we took care of sharing more information about the scholarships with young people who were interested, and we volunteered to help them to fill out their applications to the scholarships. We managed to get many girls, especially of limited resources, interested and applied. Although we do have no data on who were the people who accessed to the scholarships, we managed to disseminate the information in short time, and that they have an opportunity to access education that they could not otherwise afford.
Oh, that's really amazing. That is what it means by standing up for others, supporting each other. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to listen to you and actually get to know your world, what you're doing for the other people, for other refugees. So I will move on to the next speaker. Our next speaker is Abbas. Abbas Karimi was born in Kabul, Afghanistan. So he fled Afghanistan to Turkey, where he sought asylum. In 2016, he was resettled to the United States. Abbas is a world-class swimmer. In 2017, he took a silver medal at the Para-Swimming World Championship in Mexico City. And he's training hard with the goal of going to the Olympics. Being born without arms never held him back. He has 8 international medals and more than 25 national medals. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what refugee youth can actually do when they are given opportunities, when they are given the platform. No barrier can actually stop them from achieving. We can learn from Abbas Karimi. Abbas, so what is the impact of sport in a refugee's life? You're welcome.
Abbas, you're mute.
Abbas, maybe you tap on the screen. Tap on the screen. Sorry, we have some technical issue. I think he is refreshing his page. Give him like a minute or two. So in the meantime, maybe we'll go to the next speaker. When he sorts out the technical issue, we'll come back to him later. Abbas?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Sorry
Go on.
yeah. Okay, the question was, what is the refugee's life? I think as my experience that I've been through this for many years, almost 5 years, sports can keep refugee youth active and put them in positive environment with great support structure. Sport can change their life and keep them positive. It can even save their life. I know it saved my life. I have been competing in swimming since I was 14. I left home at the age of 16 and lived in a refugee camp in Turkey, where I was able to train, compete, and become a better athlete. I'm now competing at the international level. In 2017, I placed second place in the world, my first world para swimming championship, and became the first refugee who made the podium at the international level. And also, I went 5-time World Series. That totally, I have 8 international medals that I represented 80 million refugees in the world. And I'm currently training for 2021 Paralympic Games in August. So I hope I can make the refugee team to represent refugee team.
Thank you, Abbas. Adil, mute. Can you mute your mic? Hello, Adil, can you mute your mic? Sorry.
Excuse me, Simon, I didn't understand the question.
No, I was asking Adil to actually mute her mic. So I'll go to the second question. What is the role of sport in youth activism? How can you use sport to advocate for things that are in our communities, Abbas?
Refugee youth athletes can participate in any sport at the local level all the way up to the international levels. By doing that, we can connect with people around and possibly win medals at all levels, which has motivated me. We can represent and motivate millions of refugees in the world. I believe by competing in sport, we can build friendships and build social networks that will last forever. That's how we can create peace between refugees and the world. And that will make the world a better place.
I love that. That will make the world a better place. So how can the audience here support refugee youth engagement in sport and make it a better, make this world a better place for them?
Encourage refugee youth to do sport and support them and give them opportunities so they can be involved, they can set their own goals and work toward competing at the local, national, and international levels. Along the way, building their own confidence and creating lifelong friendships.
Thank you so much, Abbas. We'll come back to you later with questions and answers. We can see questions are coming in on the Q&A. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce us to the last speaker. The last speaker for our session is Adil Achil. Adieu is the founder and the CEO of Monica Dow Enterprise, a South Sudanese startup that deals with the manufacturing of hair oils products, shampoo, bar soaps, hand wash liquids, liquid soaps, and detergents. Currently, she is in her third year pursuing a Bachelor's of Commerce, that is marketing as an option, at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, that is in Kenya, under the Window Trust Duffy Scholarship. Additionally, she holds a diploma in business administration from the same university, that is Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. She served as the East Africa Regional Leader for the Tertiary Refugee Students Network, TRSN, and a flagship program by the UNHCR that seeks to advance the interests of refugee students in tertiary education globally. Adil, how have you been supporting young refugees to have access to education? You're welcome.
Yes. Hi. My name is Adil, as Simon have says. Okay. Having been born and raised in refugee camp, I have witnessed the challenges refugee youth face in accessing education not only in Kenya but across Africa. Uh, through my capacity as a refugee education activist, entrepreneur, and East Africa regional leader for the Tertiary Refugee Student Network, to which I would love to introduce Tertiary Refugee Student Network. Uh, the student lead Tertiary Refugee Student Network, TRSN in short, founded in 2019, connect refugee student worldwide and elevated refugee student activism to the global level with members in over 15 countries and activities on local, national, and global level. The TRSN advocate for increasing the percentage of refugee youth enrolled in higher education to 15% by 2030. That is in 10 years now. The TRSN bring refugees' voice to the center of discussion and decision about their life. Through this platform, refugee students and alumni create synergies to support each other in developing their communities and encouraging other refugees to play their roles in life-changing areas, such as higher education. Uh, Through the creation of the TRSN, students have been able to connect and learn about the different opportunities for advocacy and activities happening around the world. TRSN students advocate for refugee education on global and national level, raise awareness about the significance of education among their communities, and empower fellow refugees youth through skills training, workshop, and peer support. The TRSN mission is to increase access and retention of refugees in higher education, defined under the four main objectives. One, increase refugee self-reliance through connecting refugees learners and alumni at local, national, and global levels. Two, advocate for greater access to higher education to achieve 15% enrollment by 2030. Three, provide guidance to institutions and students to promote quality academic experience. The last one, increase awareness of and access to opportunities such as internship, professional development, and employment. Back to my question, some of the initiatives I have taken to support young refugee student access education include: one, advocating for girls' child education through campaign among the refugees community in camps and urban area, and educating refugees parents about the importance of girls' child education. Two, sourcing scholarship opportunities for young refugees and, where necessary, helping them through the application process. Number third, lies with refugees agencies in Kenya such as UNHCR, RAS and Education Institution to facilitate acquisition of student documents needed in their studies, e.g. CTD. It looks like a passport that allows refugees to travel outside of the country. For instance, when you're in Kenya and you are in a position or you have been offered a scholarship to go outside Kenya, you use this CTD to travel outside. And then there's something we call background checkup. It's called police clearance in another term, and then there is another one called internship pass. The fourth one is educational mentorship, where during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns, a lot of refugee girls got pregnant, and a significant number of them were on the verge of dropping out of school. To get them back on their feet, I was able to launch a return to school program where pregnant girls were identified, and through psychological support and mentorship, a majority of girls who wanted to continue with their education went back to school. Thank you, Simon. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adio, for the work you are doing on ground. So, what ways can youth engage and support refugees practically? Like volunteering, do they have to give them spaces for volunteering? How do they help them with activism? How do they actually help them with the time to actually learn some skills? What advice can you give you other youth that are watching, that are joining us, that are part of this session right now? Adio? So how do you advise the young people that are watching right now, the people that are watching, how can they support refugee youth practically in terms of volunteering, in terms of activism, in terms of getting them the skills?
Okay, so while integrations gap between the refugees' youth and their host communities are evident among refugees, some of the ways in which youth can practically engage and support young refugees include: one, voluntarism, where refugee youth in tertiary education institutions across Kenya often go back to their respective refugee camps and use their skills and knowledge to instill vital skills for young refugees. For example, teaching in secondary and primary refugee school and facilitating computer lessons in vocational trainings. Uh, Two, advocacy and activism, where youth can radically advocate for the inclusion of young refugees in policy and decision making, affecting them directly or indirectly in their communities. Uh, Three, entrepreneurship training, where youth who are entrepreneurial minded use their skills and knowledge to provide training and mentorship for young refugees. For example, through Monicado, I personally have taken initiative to provide entrepreneurship training for young women in Kakuma and Dadaab. Uh, Dadaab camp in soap, cosmetic, and detergents. The last but not the least, talent promotion, where youth can organize events and target talented young refugees. For example, talent show, sporting show, to which most of the young refugees love sport in all this camp in Kenya, and music and dance. Thank you, Michael. Back to
So
you.
my last question to you, Dio, is that so in terms of education in particular, what advice do you give young people who are actually joining us now to support refugee youth access education, whether it's secondary education or higher education or learning?
Okay. My advice is that there is nothing that can come easily. For one to achieve something, one have to work hard enough. I know along the way there are so many challenges, but again, one should only focus on the positive side. Supporting education with a lot came with a lot of challenge. Not since not everyone believe in education, especially girl child education. But again, what should one keep on fighting for is their passion and determination to support education.
Thank you so much, Adil. Thank you, Abbas. Thank you, Laura. I have one question that one of you can actually answer on the Q&A. So what do you consider society should improve so that we can provide the best support to refugees and any stranger in general? I think I will actually withdraw the word stranger because these are humans and they're not strangers. They are just visitors. They are people who are displaced. They are people who are actually on the move. So what do you consider society should improve where you are living in right now? It could be in Ecuador. It could be in the United States of America. It can be in Kenya. What do you want the societies there to actually improve to support refugees?
I just want to
Laura?
add something for this question. I think one of the most important things is understand what is a refugee and maybe understand the context and what they are living, because sometimes happens that you are a refugee, but anybody knows what happened with your life. And of course, you are not telling your story to everyone, but if you try to understand that they are facing maybe something really hard in their lives, they are trying to just have normal life in another country. They are adapting maybe a new language, a new culture, a new environment. That can help a lot population into the countries.
Thank you, Laura. Adil or Abbas, do you want to add something?
I'd like to add
Okay.
something.
Lydia would like to add something. Lydia, you're welcome.
Yeah, for me, what I would say is that no one wishes to be a refugee. No one wishes to leave their home. So I would urge people to have open hands towards refugees, be welcoming to them, because these are people who have gone through different challenges. And people have different reasons for fleeing their country. And it's not by choice that they fled their country. So be open to them and take an opportunity to first listen to them, get to understand their story before jumping into any conclusions or before disregarding them. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you. Thank you, Adil. Uh, Participant, please let us know. Send us the question either on the chat or on the Q&A in case you have any question for these amazing speakers or these amazing young refugees who are actually sharing their life experiences. They are sharing their own journeys. They are sharing their own, the amazing work that they are doing right now back home and in their countries of origin and the countries where they are staying in right now. If you have any question, as we still have them here, please, the questions are actually welcome. Refugee education is something that as I said before, it has not been given like so much attention. More than 50% of the world, 20.4 million refugees that UNHCR supports, they are below the age of 18. More than 50% of 20 million people, 20 million refugees, they are all below the age of 18. Only 77% of refugee children attend primary schools. 31% attend secondary school, and about 3% are enrolled in higher education. So it is from 77% in primary, which is kind of relatively good, and then to 31% at secondary, and then from 31 we're all at 3%. So where did the 28 go? Where did the 36% go from primary? Where did they go? Where did they go? So UNHCR strategy, education strategy, has been to articulate like the commitment to pursue inclusion of refugees in national education system, as well as a sustainable and equitable approach to refugee education. So they only rely like UNHCR rely on states and stakeholders like young people and students to work with us, to work with them like to expand and enhance the quality of national education systems, and to also facilitate access to education by refugees and host communities, children, adolescents, and youth to primary, secondary, and tertiary education. So as I said before, like there is right now a campaign that is going on. It's 15 by 2030, 15 by 30. So globally, there are only 38% of young people who have access to higher education, and only 3% of this in 2019 were actual refugees. That is from UNHCR and the partners. So UNHCR and partners came out and set a goal to expand access to higher education for refugees by 15%, at least 15% of young refugee women and men by the year 2030. So they have this campaign that is now going on, which I would like and I would really love to invite all of you to join in. Wherever you are, wherever you're joining us from, by any means. Just join the high track, join the campaign, and advocate in your own community. Advocate with your national government, with your local government, with your county. It can be a province, it can be a state government. Advocate for refugees to actually have their access to higher education expanded. So through commitments, dedication, and support of organizations like the Scout, young people themselves, I'm very sure we can raise refugee participation in higher education by 15% over the next 10 years. I think we're now left with 9 years before 2030. So bringing together these young people worldwide have the potential to contribute significantly by either sharing our network or by even sharing the opportunities that we have through advocacy, through research, academic preparation, scholarship preparation, language training, and access to facilities. Even trying to pay for the refugee youth to actually maybe access some of these online courses. These are ways that you can actually support refugees youth education. There are many, many other ways that you as an individual can actually support, or your county, your state, your country can actually support refugee youth education. We can all have this. We can actually see the impact that higher education actually is doing to the young, to the refugees after hearing the amazing stories of these young people here. So I would like really to invite all of you to join this campaign, of 15 by 2030. So as I have a question now from the Q&A, which I would like to invite one of the speakers to actually attend to. They said, did you ever face xenophobia? Are there youth initiatives that focus exclusively in fighting it in your own community? Lydia, Laura, Hala, Abbas, and Adil, this is a question for you. Did you ever face xenophobia or an attacks or some discrimination? Yes, Laura?
I just want to mention that something that happened to me when I was 12 years, because I came to the country when I was 12. And of course, it was really hard to change everything and get into the school with the new and different way to study, different materials that you have to take. And one of the first problems that I faced was that xenophobia. And that was really hard because I had almost 1 year trying to have a regular registration into my school. And that was because I didn't have a necessary document. And school, the people that was that have to give me the opportunity to this. Now, if you don't have it, you can stay here, simply. And we fight a lot, and that take almost 1 year to get into normal school. And of course, it's not the only situation. You always face this when you go to get a bank account, when you get maybe to try to apply to a job, and things like that. And you are always going to face that because your nationality is different to the country.
Wow. Wow. So are there initiatives that are actually fighting such kind of discrimination, such kind of attacks, such kind of targeted attacks on you or on young people in your country where you're residing now, Laura?
Yeah, something that some years ago started to work was to help young to get into the system, the education system, in the best way. Just talking with people that have access to give documentation to schools and says, okay, this don't depend on you. You have to accept this guy into the school. Sometimes there's not enough information. The capacity to you take this guy to the school, you need to know that you have to assist to maybe somebody else and have this document. Of course, a lot of young people here, refugee young people, is working to try to spread this information and help to the new people that is arriving to the country.
Yes, Allah. Thank you, Laura. Thank you.
For me personally, I haven't faced anything since, as I said before, I'm considered to be a refugee only for the UNHCR. I'm an immigrant for UAE. But I heard many stories from other refugees, and one of them is one of my friends who is a refugee in Cyprus, as I mentioned him before. Uh, the biggest problem is exploitation of refugees. Like, it's not xenophobia, it's more like the exploitation of them. They make them like work for 14 hours sometimes in jobs, and because they know that they are refugees, they have no other choice. They can't even like complain about their situation or their or anything. They don't have any other choice but going back to their country if they don't like the situation. So, and because the working opportunities are very limited for refugees, as well as education, sadly. So that's why many people tend in hosting countries to exploit refugees in ways like make them work overtime without paying them well, with like minimum wages. And sometimes, so that I feel is the biggest problem that would be. I don't know if there are initiatives to stop this, because this stuff always happen, like, under the table. But and usually because refugees don't have choice even to complain about them, because they would be kicked out of their jobs, or sometimes even here like their visa would be canceled. So they can't talk much about it, and I believe that this issue should be solved and more refugees should speak up, and even the government should help with this at some point, or other organizations try to supervise the workforce or workplace where refugees would work in.
Thank you. Thank you, Allah. Yes, Didier?
Just like Hala said, I think mostly it's that discrimination when it comes to job opportunities. Some host community feel like refugees are a competition to them, because they are more resilient, more hardworking, but some people use them in terms of making them work, but they're not paying them enough, or not even pay them at all, just taking advantage of the fact that they know that there's nowhere they can go to report them. And sometimes when you go to report to the police, they mostly take the side of the host community, especially when you don't even have papers. You go to report and then the case changes into you now first explaining why you don't have papers, instead of following up on the issue that took you to the police station. But here in Kenya, there are some partner organizations for UNHCR that assist refugees in different issues. Like when it comes to legal matters, let's say like when you go to report maybe a certain case at the court or the police, and you feel like maybe you haven't been you haven't had like a fair trial. There are some organizations here that work hand in hand with UNHCR that can assist you. Maybe let's say like when it comes to legal matters, when it comes to security matters. So there are some organizations that are around our area that can assist you in different things when you face maybe discrimination in one way or another. And from the community now side, for us, I think mainly most of the groups that I've been in growing up as a young person here, these are groups that are mostly filled with refugees. And we even have some of the hosts community members that join us because they like whatever we do. And what we try to like do with this group is to always give people that that self-esteem. And because sometimes people take advantage of you because you don't have that confidence, you don't believe in yourself, or you feel low in a certain way. So from the refugee side, we try as much as to show people their worth. And and to always try and bargain your worth, out there. But yeah, there are some initiatives that are there. But the issue is that sometimes they take longer to solve issues. Thank you.
Didier, you brought in a very good perspective here. You said the refugees and the host communities try to work together, and then there is some formation of bonds, some formation of togetherness. Now, I'm just wondering, is it just only on the refugee side that we have youth that are trying to actually get the friends or get closer to the communities? Is it only on the refugee side, or also that there are some host community youth that come and actually try to interact with you, try to make friends with you, and try to actually solve some of these hassles that you're working with together?
But personally, I've received a lot of love from the host community. I've been in this country for so many years, and one cannot tell that I'm a foreigner unless now I introduce myself and they hear my name is a bit different from them. And I always get people being interested in me just because I'm a foreigner. And sometimes it's because I don't go out there saying that I'm a refugee. But when someone notices that I'm not Kenyan, I would say, yeah, I'm from this particular country. And they're like, oh, that's amazing. So how did you get to come here? And some actually empathize with us. Some feel our struggle, and some are willing to actually help. And I do photography here, and sometimes I mostly work with Kenyans, with the host community. So sometimes I give them work, because sometimes you get a gig and maybe you're required to have a team of like 5 people. I don't just necessarily go to my refugee community and pick people from there. So I always team up, even with, I mix, it depends with the skills. And the same way, I'm also sometimes called to assist in other jobs, and I'm called by the host community. So it's not all of them that feel like we are a threat to them. Some of them actually appreciate the talents that we have, and the difference that we come, because we come with a different perspective of things, and we have some who are actually very interested in us, and to the point that there are some host community who have even married refugees, because they values that they came with, their culture. So some appreciate actually what we come with in terms of culture, in terms of the skills that we come with, and because refugees also have, they come with something from where they come from. So yeah, there's also that love from the host community.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, Ala?
I agree with Didier. Like, I heard many stories, for example, in Greece, of families who actually opened their doors and brought like refugees from the camps. They let them live in their houses, like for a long period of time, sometimes like for a year, and try to teach them more about the hosting community language and even their tradition, their religion, everything. So I found this like very amazing, like how some people actually in the hosting countries, it's as Didier said, it's not always that the hosting countries communities like find refugees as a threat. Sometimes they actually welcome them even in their houses and try to merge them with their community and also learn from them. They're usually curious about their life too and their culture, so they try also to learn about it, and this is very positive in my point of view.
That's amazing. Ala. So how about in terms of education, in terms of access to education? How have you all been have you experienced like xenophobia or discrimination or challenges when you're trying to study, like maybe a refugee school or studying together with the host communities? How have you all been experiencing like some discriminative behaviors or attacks that are actually pointed towards you guys? Yes, Didier?
Personally, I think I've faced something of the such. There's a time I went to enroll myself in a school, and I said that I'm going to pay for myself for the course that I wanted to do. But after they saw my papers, after they saw that I was a refugee, they were doubting if I can actually afford it. So to the point that they asked me for so many documents that were necessary, like my bank statements, just to prove where am I going to get the money to pay for that particular course. I think that's the only time I've faced such, because of after seeing my documents, like, so you're a refugee, and are you sure that you're going to pay for yourself? And I was like, yeah. But then they needed further proof that I can actually pay for me to be admitted.
Thank you so much. So they were doubting. They said because you're a refugee, you may not be able to actually pay tuition for the school. Yes, Laura, you put up your hand. Do you like to share the experience? Laura, we cannot hear you.
We cannot hear you, Lara.
Just adding
Laura,
some
we
more
cannot hear you.
that I told.
Okay. Sorry, I think he's having
Simon,
some.
I raised my feet because I don't have arms. I wanted to say something about my experience that what I faced
Respond.
as
Okay.
a challenge in my sport, in my life. So for 4 years that I've been in Turkey, of course, I had a facility, a swimming pool to swim in, and the challenge that I faced was I was not able to compete internationally, and for many years I missed a lot of opportunities to become a champion and win medals as a refugee. So there's a lot of refugees, younger refugees in the world, and especially in Turkey, that they have really a real talent in sport, and they really want to get better and better to go to the next level and become a champion, whatever they want to accomplish in sport. But because they're refugees, the document or license, they cannot compete even nationally. On that time, because I don't know how my coaches, somehow they made an independent, and then I was able to compete the national level in Turkey. But right now, nowadays, I hear it, and there's a lot of my friends in Turkey or any country in Europe that they're not able to compete. They're not allowed to because they're refugees. So I think that's how they give up or they quit. And I think that whoever watching us right now that I can hear my voice, that they should do something and pay attention on their talents in sport, because I believe that sport can bring a huge changing on their life in our society, and we can be wherever we are. Doesn't matter. We can as a refugee we can compete on international level. So at the end, it's about bringing peace between refugees and the world. And yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Abbas, for coming in and for giving us the experience from the sporting perspective, and also giving like a practical solution on what people can actually do to support refugee youth in making sure that their talents is actually
Yeah, I know it's
utilized
very
or
hard. It's very, very hard. It's very difficult. It's very difficult in sport, especially when you want to succeed and achieve your goals in sport. Especially it's very hard for everyone, but especially refugees, when a lot of people doesn't believe on you because you're a refugee, you come from a different place and you entered that country illegally or differently. You don't have any document or any passport or anything to be able to participate. So a lot of young refugees athletes, they just quit or give up. They do, or even some of them go through bad things to do something bad, and because they didn't achieve their goals on sport. And I was going to face this for 4 years in Turkey. I was about to quit and give up, but that was something that I really wanted to do, and I didn't quit until I came to USA, and then I was able to compete internationally. Then, they created nowadays they created the refugee Olympic team and Paralympic team. That the first time they sent it 2016, the Olympic team and refugee Paralympic team, which was a great thing, which a great success. Even if we didn't, they didn't win any medal or didn't make any at the podium, but still we proved that we can compete internationally. And after that, when I started competing internationally and represented millions of refugees in the world, and I made the podium at the international level, but still, I'm not saying that I'm the only champion. There's a lot of refugees in the world who is athletes, and they really want to achieve something big in sport, but they most of them doesn't have the access to the environment or the facility, and they don't get support to give them the opportunity to they can participate and compete at a national level or international level. That's the biggest problem, the biggest challenge that a lot of refugees in the world that they're facing nowadays. And yeah.
Thank you so much, colleagues, for all in and responses to the questions. I'd like to give each and everyone like a minute and a half to give us like one call to action. What do you want the people who are listening right now to do? How do you want them to support so that access to higher education among refugees is improved? So I'll start with Hala. And a call to action.
Yes, Simon. For me, I would say education is the first mile in the infinite road to one's best potential. Being forced to choose any other road will lead to a closed end or infinite loop. Invest in refugee education and create peace and solidarity in the world.
Thank you very much, Hala. Lydia, any call to action?
For me, I would say that there is no refugee, and we are all one human family. And I would say that we are all refugee in different circumstances. So let's be each other's brothers keepers. If you are in a safer room and someone knocks your door, probably because they are in danger, please open for them.
Lydia. Laura?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
This is something that I want to mention, and maybe some people can take this. Let's use social media to inspire more, to inform more, but above all, to include more refugee population. For us, it may mean a post, a story, or one more tweet. But for refugees, it can mean a change in their lives.
Thank you so much. Indeed, a retweet, a tweet, or just a post on Facebook can mean a lot to someone who has run out of their countries of origin or who is trying to make a life environment. Thank you so much, Laura. Abbas, any call to action?
The last thing that I want to say is by doing sport, we just want to make the world a better place, and we want to be part of the world. And, we just want to be like everyone else. And, by doing sport, we want to create peace and unity.
It is peace and unity through sport. Adil.
Yes, thank you once more, James. Simon. So I believe being a refugee is transitional identity. Anytime you can change it. So I also believe that young people should not lose hope. inside for education. Maybe one dream was to go to university, but because of some limited opportunities or circumstance, one was not able to attend. But again, I believe and I know that there are so many technical and vocational training centers located in almost all the refugees camps in the world. Let's take advantage of these centers and gain skills and knowledge to enhance and advance ourselves. There is no difference between the universities and this vocational training. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adil. Thank you, everyone. So I'm going to ask you all to put up the plug up like the 15 by 30 so that we can take a group picture. Arise and the technical team, are you able to capture? Let me know when it's done.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. This was
Thank
great.
you. Thank you so much. So we'll use this 8 minutes to play again the video, and I'll ask you to actually engage. Talk to these young amazing speakers, speak to them, contact them, get their details, follow them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter, on YouTube. Try to join the amazing work that they are doing. A retweet, just like Laura said, a retweet or a Facebook post about one of the initiatives that they are doing can really, really go a long, long way. It might be the only opportunity for a deal to get market for her product. It might be the only opportunity for a bus to get the next call to the Tokyo Olympic Games. It might be the only opportunity for Didier to actually engage more with the Tagamera cultural group to also get like a contract somewhere. It might be the opportunity for Allah to to help other young refugee youth, young refugee girls to actually get an opportunity for further education. Or it might even be like the best opportunity for Laura to engage more on how to actually effectively communicate the issues that are facing refugees themselves. So there is a comment that I'm going to read on the chat. It's from someone from Egypt. She's somewhere. She's asking us to actually maybe coordinate and link up with her. And if there is someone from the speakers that can actually link up with her, might be she can be of support to refugees that are in Egypt. Thank you so much, everyone. I really cannot thank you enough for all the amazing insight, for the amazing that you are doing.
Can we do the process one more again? Can we bring that up one more?
Okay, we do the 15 by 30, one more up again. Laura, raise yours. Raise it up. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Let's join the campaign 15 by 30. I invite you all and make sure that by 2030 we have 15% of young refugees, women and girls in higher education. Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you so much to our support team from the technical side. Bye-bye. Thank you all and the participants that joined us. Thank you to all our partners for making this possible. Thank you and bye-bye.